given us. But I pray, Lord, that you give them wisdom and understanding and discernment as they begin and embark on this new chapter. God, I pray that you help them make wise decisions. And Lord, use that to help them lead well. God, I pray for integrity. I pray for character. God, we're reminded every day of the potholes that exist around us and that there is one that's out there to steal, kill, and destroy. And God, I pray, Lord, that you would give these men and women impeccable character, Lord. Help them to understand the dangers that are there, God. Help them to be men and women who do what's right as you define right, God. Regardless of the challenges that they face or the circumstances that they find themselves in, Lord, help them to be men and women of character, Lord. Bless them with that, Lord. Empower them with that. God, I pray for vision. Father, you give dreams. Lord, you give us clarity of vision. And Father, I pray that there'd be a vision for our city. Lord, that it will bless our homes and bless our churches and bless our schools and bless our families. God, and I pray that there'd be a unity to that vision. Lord, that you would draw their hearts together. Father, we've all, as leaders, worked on teams before where we lack that unity. God, I pray this would be just a sweet experience over the next 2 years or 4 years or however long they're serving. God, I pray, Lord, that you give them a unity, God, in the way they work, in collaboration and synergy and cooperation, God, and it would just be a great experience. Most of all, Father, I pray for your protection on each and every life, on this council, God, and I pray your protection on our city, God. Lord, you're the one that is our high tower, God. You tell us that the integrity of the upright will guide them, and so, Father, I pray, Lord, for our city. And Father, I pray what Paul told Timothy in that passage of Scripture where he tells us, Lord, that first of all, that we're to pray and make petitions and thanksgivings be on behalf for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, so that we may lead a quiet and tranquil life in all godliness and dignity. This is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. For there is one God and one mediator between God and man, the man Jesus Christ. Father, I pray that for each and every person in this council. We love you, Lord. We thank you so much. We pray all this in the precious name, the name that's above every name. That's your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Behind it.
We moved it. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody can have a seat, except for we've got 3 individuals who are going to be sworn in tonight. After they've been sworn in, you can all swear at them all you like, but just outside the council chambers, that's all I ask. We have the Honorable Christopher Kelly here this evening, County Judge. I hope that his swearing in these 3 individuals adds some dignity to the ceremony. He recently served on the County Elections Canvassing Board, so I've got to believe that this will be a little bit less heavy lifting compared to that. But we will do this in order of district. Councilman Bob Ford will go first, followed by Councilman Chase Tremont, followed by Councilman Scott Stiltner. Then we will allow each of the 3 to make some comments at the podium if they wish, and then we'll do a brief recess before we move on with the evening of the council, business of the council this evening. With that, Your Honor.
Thank you. And if you'll please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I,
Robert Ford,
a citizen of the state of Florida, and of the United States of America, do hereby solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Florida, that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state and the Charter of the City of Port Orange, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of council member of the City of Port Orange, on which I am now about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations.
Chase, you're up. Chase, do me a favor and introduce the person real quick who's going to be holding the Bible for you.
This is my mother.
How are you? All right, if you'll please raise your right hand and place your left hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Chase Tremont,
A citizen of the state of Florida and of the United States of America,
citizen of the state of Florida and the United States of America,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and the Charter of the City of Port Orange,
and the Charter of the City of Port Orange,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of council member of the City of Port Orange,
of council member of the City of Port Orange,
on which I am now about to enter.
in which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
All right, you get pictures that you need? Okay. Councilman Scott Stiltner. It's my understanding that you've got more than just two women in your life, but these are the two most important ones.
They're the highest ranking members.
Tell me who they are.
This is my mom, Alice, and my beautiful wife, Julie.
Welcome.
All right, if you please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Scott Stiltner,
A citizen of the state of Florida and the United States of America,
citizen of the state of Florida and the United States of America,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and the Charter of the City of Port Orange,
and the Charter of the City of Port Orange,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
of council member of the City of Port Orange,
of council member of the City of Port Orange,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. You're welcome.
You care to make any remarks?
No remarks.
I'm sorry?
No.
Bob said to tell you all that he's very grateful that you're here. And he's very appreciative of, what else did you say? No. Of this I can say, my friend, we've served on this council for the last 8 years. And I look forward to the next 4 because we've done a lot of things and we've seen a lot of changes in these 8 years. And I'm looking forward to all that follows. Thank you for your service. Chase. Chase ducked out for a second. Scott, you'd like to step to the microphone and make whatever comments, and they better include a thank you to your wife and your wife, if you know what's good for you.
The old cop in me still has a problem talking with people behind my back, but I guess I can trust these. I'll trust these two guys. So
Maybe.
yeah, you know, this is very exciting. I'm very honored to be able to represent the citizens of Port Orange for another 4 years and work with such a tremendous group of people. I will have to confess that this as a experience in my life has been quite the learning experience, and the curve continues. I encourage anybody to get into public service with a mindset that you will learn something every day. And that's the one thing that the last 4 years has been about, certainly for me, is learning something all the time. And it's ever changing. It will continue to change. I would tell you that I am very proud of what this city as a whole, together, as residents, as staff members, as employees, as council members, have accomplished as a community. There's no one person or 5 people or any particular board or any committee that is making what Port Orange is today. It's a culmination of a lot of things and a lot of people with a lot of love and a lot of heart and a lot of passion for Port Orange. And I know that's going to continue, and I'm really excited to see what the next 4 years in this community is going to look like and the places that we are going to go together as a community. So thanks again for your support. I really appreciate everybody that's always been there. Lots of valuable time spent hashing out ideas and hearing to other perspectives, which is incredibly valuable to me, myself. So thank you again, and it's an honor.
Councilman Chase Tremont.
I'll just be very brief. Just the honor that I have to serve in the community that I grew up in. You know, it's I brag everywhere I go about the city of Port Orange and what it's meant to me growing up as a kid. The greatest childhood, greatest upbringing you can possibly imagine. Right here in these parks and rec and this basketball gym here, these baseball fields, these parents, these leaders here that have invested in my life. It's an honor to be able to invest mine back into the community. And to be able to serve with these guys up here is an absolute thrill of a lifetime for me. It truly is. I've played on a lot of teams. I've coached a lot of teams throughout my playing and my coaching career. But I can truly say I've never been a part of a greater team than this group of guys right up here. I truly see each one of them as my friend. And you know you have a healthy dais and a healthy city when you have countless numbers of 3-2 votes, and you can still go out and get dinner afterwards together. So it's truly remarkable group of guys to work with. I feel that our staff, our department heads, every single one of them across the board are head and shoulders above any city in this county and for Central Florida for that matter. You know, we have such an incredible staff of workers from the top down. And I'm just truly honored to be a part of the vision casting here. So thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve you all.
Hey Chase, I just wanted to add to that and say that it is amazing how well we get along and how many friends you have when we go out to dinner afterwards when you're buying.
I'm a teacher. You know that's not true.
Yeah, the hands of all teachers in the room go up all at once. First of all, it has been my great honor to serve with all of these individuals that were sworn in tonight, as well as Councilman Drew Bastian. I look forward to the next 2 years of serving with with all 5 of us together. And so much of what we do is not just about coming together and saying yes and no to what's before us, but all 5 of us bring a different take on things. So sometimes with a little bit of input here and a little bit of input there, we craft that together and we make a better product because of the synergy. We don't always agree, but we are a terrific team, and I'm very proud of this council, and I'm very proud of the way it served the city, and I hope that we can continue to do that. With that, my thanks to you all, and we're going to take a brief 10-minute recess, and that will allow the council people to take whatever pictures with family members, and then they'll be released from their confinement here this evening. With that, we are in recess. And we're back. Resume with roll call.
Councilman Ford.
Here.
Councilman Tremont.
Here.
Councilman Bastian.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. Election of vice mayor. I will entertain a motion or a nomination at this point.
I'd like to move to approve and nominate Councilman Chase Tremont to be the next vice mayor of the city of Port Orange.
Second.
Any other nominations? With that, nominations are closed. You know your salary doesn't go up because of this, right?
I'll tell you, with the list of those that have gone before me, it's an honor. Thank you.
Your
sir.
time requirement goes up, but not your salary.
Believe you
I'll
me,
take
it
it up.
does.
We're fixing to get to that in just a minute.
Believe, if it comes to it, just remember how heavy this thing is. With that, nomination for Councilman Chase Tremont to serve as Vice Mayor of the City of Port Orange for the following 13 months. You get an extra month out of it because of the way of elections. With that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Should have
There
asked
not be.
Should have asked my wife first, but
Well, you blew that play, didn't you?
You can blame that on me then.
You can throw Scott under the bus. You've been hired, 5-0.
honored.
Item 6, appointments to council committees for 2019. Before we rip too far into that, I would like council to consider with the golf board, just like many of our other boards, we have a board that meets, advises, and then comes and reports before us. It seems redundant to have a council person as a part of that board to represent when it's like they're reporting to us, you're reporting to us. I think that our time could be better served. In that regard, I would recommend that we eliminate a council person's appointment to the Golf Advisory Board. Comments, questions?
Just a couple quick comments, Mayor. Certainly, you know, as the district representative for where that's located, the board can feel free to reach out to me certainly anytime. I think your point is valid. One of the issues that happens from time to time is the board meets at 5 o'clock. And a lot of times we have other ceremonies and events here at 6, and they're not always done. But then what also happens is Bob Duquette comes down, and frequently also the chair of the board will come down immediately to recap the meeting and go over the agenda items and the things that are being discussed. So I do think that that's a very good board, by the way. The discussions that come out of that board are excellent, and they get wrapped up pretty well, and they come to some agreements as a majority to be able to present that stuff back to us. So I would concur that I think that right now, that one would not be critical to have a council member attending every one of the meetings, but I would certainly be willing to be the ear if anybody on that board needs to call a particular councilman and run something by him or say, hey, just want to give you some information, and they know how to get a hold of me, so that would be fine for me on that one as well.
Does anybody else have a problem with eliminating that?
No objection.
No.
Did you need a motion?
No, that works.
I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
Motion to approve the,
I don't know that a motion is needed because we're gonna have to bring back an ordinance to change that anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Oh,
you guys
okay.
can vote on it
So
at that
that-
point
yeah.
if we got a consensus. to
Yeah,
do
that works.
If we have a consensus, let's go ahead with the other appointments as standing. Art House is Councilman Ford. City Investment Committee is Councilman Stiltner. The General Employees Retirement Trust is Councilman Stiltner. River to Sea Transportation has been Councilman Bastian, and Councilman Ford is filled
Bob
in.
Filling in, yeah.
Of course, I'm kind of thinking maybe, Scott, if you're giving up the golf board, you might want to consider that one to take its place. Just a hint, just a thought. Municipal Firefighters Pension Board, Councilman Ford. Municipal Police Officers Retirement Trust, Councilman Bastian. Port Orange South Daytona Chamber, Bob and I have been working that one. Roundtable of Elected Officials has been me. And First Step has been Vice Mayor Tremont. Does anybody want to do any horse trading or switch off on that? Or does everybody agree that maybe we should rope Scott into doing TPO?
The only problem with TPO is if you work. It occurs during working hours.
How frequently are they meeting?
Once a month.
Mornings or afternoons?
Fourth.
Mornings.
Yeah.
Mornings.
Fourth
Wednesdays.
Wednesday.
Fourth Wednesdays. I
Yeah.
told you it was Tuesday.
That actually would be fine. That would work fine for
Would
me.
that work?
So-
Because I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, I
making
can
those
definitely do
with my
TPO.
schedule.
And council, keep in mind, Councilman Ford has always offered to back any of us up with anything, and that included.
Well, I want to reiterate, you run off the list, and I'm not on any of them because these tend to meet during the day, but at least during the summertime, as I'm not in school, I'm always available to fill in anytime you guys need a fill.
And you're doing First Step as well.
And just for comment, I think we could, and maybe Jake, you can weigh in on this a little bit, but the City Investment Committee meeting is one that really there's no changes that can come out of that without anything coming before council. And the way I think that particular, from what I've experienced being on that committee, that is really a debriefing, if you will, directly
Ministerial and-
related to the finance director and to the city manager more than anything. And but as recommendations are made and hashed out, all of that, as you guys have seen in the past, none of that's going to happen in that meeting anyhow. It's all coming back to council by and large. So now that one, Chase, does meet only every other month, I believe, Jake. Is that right? But it's like 2:30 quarterly.
Yeah, quarterly.
Okay.
2:30 to 5.
Yeah, that
4:30,
if that one ever could get bumped to like 3, Chase, if you had an interest in that one, you could. But that's also one probably that doesn't really necessarily need, because what would happen is your finance directors are going to come right back, or Jake, if there's an issue or anything that needs to be mentioned, the city manager or the finance director is going to be coming to bring that information to us.
Jake, you have any thoughts on that?
So, yes, I don't think that a council member needs to be on the investment committee unless the council member is utterly so interested in the subject matter that they want to go. I very much enjoy it. I enjoy it, but I enjoy it from it kind of gives me a good feel for how the economy's going and where it's going, and you know, you kind of weed through a little bit of the news reporting on where the economy's going and get the stats. What we can do, if you all choose not to have a council member, is if we leave it on here and after we have a meeting, I can definitely debrief the meeting to you at the end of the night and let you know what was said. But you're right, any investment policy, when we went to Supras, when we went to AA bonds, all that was brought to council and briefed by Scott Stitcher and the crew before we made a decision. And you know, Vice Mayor or Councilman Stiltner is right. You know, Tracy and Lisa and the team kind of guided us through that and helped us with the pros and cons, and you know, PFM works for us, so our best interest is their best interest, and they do a good job as well. So I would be comfortable with that, but keep it on the agenda to brief. Keep it non-mandatory, but anybody can attend those anyhow. So absolutely.
Any problem with that? Chase? Anybody else have a problem with that?
Not at all.
So I would propose that we keep Art House with Bob, General Employees Retirement with Scott, River to Sea with Scott, Municipal Fire Pension with Bob, Municipal Police Officers Retirement with Drew,
Yep, we can do
Port
that.
Orange Chamber, Bob and I have been working that. I've got Roundtable of Elected Officials and First Step with Councilman Tremont, or Vice Mayor Tremont. I got used to saying that. I like that. Sounds good.
Kind of good ring to it.
Anybody have any objections to that slate?
No, not at all.
Do we need a motion, or do we,
No.
consensus is acceptable?
Appointments.
Okay, we have consensus, and
We'll change the ordinance to reflect the two that you changed.
very good. I get a nod from Robin, then I know
Can
we're
we-
okay.
The only thing I'll probably need for sure is, I know there's a lot going on with TPO. If somebody can just facilitate making sure that I start getting those emails and the meeting stuff.
We'll provide you everything you need, and
Okay.
I'll attend the first few meetings with you.
Okay.
Show
You
you where
will
to
be
sit,
handheld
how to
and
pour
you
the
will get
coffee.
Great.
Plenty of reading material,
Great.
trust me.
Okay.
You get, yeah.
Plenty of reading material.
When
Isn't
I
that
say
right,
I'll
Dave?
go, I mean, Tim.
Yeah, Tim goes, yeah.
Is that why Tim was smiling over there?
Bobby, can you sit on the other side?
With that consent agenda, public comments on any of the consent agenda items, any and all. Come on up, Robert.
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. I'd like to talk about items 12 and 13, the concurrency and fair share agreements. Item 12 has to do with Lazul at Crystal Lake, which is going to have 288 multifamily units on 16.9 acres, generating 162 PM peak hour trips, resulting in a mitigation fair share payment of $66,807. And yet at item 13, the Springs at Port Orange, which is north of Summertree, west of Williamson, there's going to be 292 multifamily units, which is just slightly more, on 30 acres, or 29.5 acres, which is almost double what the other one is. And they're going to have 153 peak hour trips, which is 9 less than the one at Lazul. And for this, they are going to have to pay a mitigation fee of $466,633 or $83. That's $400,000 more, and it seems like an awful lot of money. It makes a huge difference. And I do not understand the methodology that they use to arrive at these amounts, but I would like to say that I noticed in both agreements there are references to total fair contribution as set forth in Exhibit A1 and concurrent improvements as set forth in Exhibits A2 and A3. And yet those exhibits are not available in the online information. And I guess my question is, why are they not online? And if you're not going to put them online, how would I go about getting copies of them or getting to look at them, what these exhibits are? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Robert. Jay, can you find out that and let Robert know?
I sure can. They were available to us. I'll just see if it was a glitch in the narrative. So the summary narrative explains the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And item 13 is being continued, correct? Are there any other consent agenda items anybody would like to speak to? There being none, I'll entertain a motion for approval of items 9 through 12 and 14 through 18. Oh.
So moved. Second.
Any other comments, council? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. And 13 is continued. That brings us to item 19, fee waiver request from Spruce Creek High School softball team. You're up.
I think it should be mandatory, Coach.
Thank you for coming, ladies. It means a lot.
You didn't bring them with
Cassie, Lexi, yeah, no, you want to come up here?
Doesn't sound like
You're okay.
Makes it easier for us to say no.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot. Yeah, I understand that. Cameron McClellan, Spruce Creek High School head softball coach, and a million community coaches and Special Olympics, blah 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 blah. But I'm here before you again, asking for a few fees to be waived for the events that we host at Karossi Sports Complex. In the past, there's been approval for it, but nonetheless. I've also been informed of a proposed matrix that would possibly fit into my request, and I stand before you asking to not help me, has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them and the hard work they put in the classroom, in the community, and just looking to save the almighty dollar to get, you know, the extras.
Jake, the fee matrix has already been applied?
No, sir. This is a school. I didn't apply the fee matrix. We supplied it for you as an attachment to show you
Okay.
if that was an option. But based on Superintendent Russell's conversation with me multiple times on schools asking for waivers, and that they should not be coming to the city for waivers, especially after that conversation we had about the police there and some of the things that we should be doing to help him. He said that they shouldn't be asking. So I did not apply the waiver to the summary sheet. However, it is supplied for you as a tool should you decide to give the softball
Gotcha.
team the waiver. I tried to contact Athletic Director Randau regarding this, but I did not get a reply. But he's aware of the Superintendent Russell email that we shared with the city, or with Spruce Creek and Atlantic earlier this year and last year.
Superintendent Russell's email that we have copied here on May 3rd of this year reads, "The district does not expect the city to absorb the costs of the games. We understand usage fees because we have them ourselves. Therefore, we will make the game fees, we will make sure game fees are covered. I was the principal at Pine Ridge and Deltona and never expected the city to contribute or waive fees for my school. I am not sure who for the schools who are asking for various considerations from the city. It could be parents or boosters. It should not be the schools, and it would not be the district. The last thing that I want is to burn bridges with the city of Port Orange. We can have coffee in the near future, Tom Russell." And that was the superintendent's.
And we had
maybe I
coffee
didn't
in the
need to-
future, yes.
I was going to say, maybe I didn't need to read the last sentence about having coffee, but since it was written to you, not me, I didn't have coffee. But
Yes, sir.
with that in mind, and putting your request on the table and that information on the table, council, what's your pleasure?
I'll need to abstain from this as it impacts directly our athletic department, of which I am
If there's
employed by.
something to abstain from, then you will be abstaining.
Correct.
You have the superintendent, you know, communicating with Jake, and he doesn't expect it to happen. I just don't see, I mean, I don't think it'd be right to do it.
You have very mixed emotions
Yeah,
about it
I
myself,
do
because
too,
I
but-
want to be very supportive
Yeah.
of the schools, but I want to be consistent, particularly.
Yeah, consistency is the key, for sure.
Scott?
Part of the, well, part of the issue that's I guess been brought to our attention that's going on is that there are times when the city needs to utilize school facilities and things like that, and the county charges the city a fee. And we've also created this matrix, Coach, that you're talking about, as a result of the last few years of organizations, and they're all great and all worthy and all that kind of stuff. And so we have created a matrix that we try to apply uniformly. But I would hate for the council to get you in between us and the school superintendent. I think that might be a little, I don't know. You could speak to that if you'd
I'd be
like.
glad to speak to that.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing of it, and Coach Rando also mentioned no word of this. Dr. Russell has never given me a penny for my program. It's all come out of them fundraising. Everything we do is nothing but hard work. There are a lot of cities around the area to where football teams pay $1 to rent a city facility for the year. And I'm not asking to get everything waived. If anything, I'd pay double for the staff. It's $4 for a game ball. You have to have 2 of them for each game. And then when you have a foul ball, there's another $4. We play 25 games, probably 15 of them at home. That's pennies. That's nothing. We have to pay 5 times as much as that. Not asking for everything. I
No.
never have. The first 3 years we did these events, never had to come before you. And each year it gets tougher and tougher. And all due respect to my boss, Superintendent Russell, he needs to talk to the athletic directors and the coaches who it affect, because I never heard a word of it. And here I'm worried about talking to you all, and I'm catching wind of this today.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
I
It
agree.
never is.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
why
I think
say
what
I
you're
don't-
doing is getting caught in the middle of a
Yeah,
much bigger
he's-
fight
yeah, he's-
without knowing about it.
That's Yeah.
I hate the fact that you're learning about this from us and not through your system. All the same, I also want to be a good partner with the schools. I think it's important that we recover our costs. I'm willing, you know, I have a problem with doing something that is disagreeable with the superintendent's position, stated position in writing, even though that might be something I want to do.
Mayor, from my perspective, Superintendent Russell talked about burning bridges. This is not gonna burn a bridge. I want you to know that. We work together with him
Well, I gotta
often
believe
on
that
everything.
if we're helping Spruce Creek softball, I think burning a bridge would not helping.
Right. Well, yeah. Keeping in mind that we pay full price minus our payment in kind for any, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start going to county council meetings and, or
Well, that's-
school board meetings to start asking for waivers for use of their fields to make up the money here, so.
And that definitely does seem like that we should be doing that. I mean, that's reasonable. I mean, we have resources and they have resources, and if we
Well,
can work
the reason
out-
we don't is because we're a taxing authority and we tax
And-
for what we
correct.
need and
Right.
pay for it. So you know, our citizens are already paying for it when we tax them. So I don't want them to pay for it again for paying school taxes and then
Right.
getting it waived.
Council, do you care to take action this evening?
No.
So what's for the coach, I mean, do we bring back the superintendent to let him make the request? I mean,
I think that
I don't want,
I think we give him a copy of the written
the
proof.
last thing I want to do is get
Where
an
he says the
employee
game
or-
fees will
No,
be
I think
covered.
the ball, pardon the pun, the ball ends up back in your court to fight that on that end.
I'll be back in January.
All right?
Yeah, when is the tournament?
February, March.
So-
We start in January.
So the good news, Coach, is I've invited Superintendent Russell and Representative Cuthbert here January 22nd. So we can have this conversation again with them present, hopefully. They haven't rogered up yet, and possibly resolve it then.
It says he'll make sure the game fees are covered.
And in general, because I really don't want to be in the middle or put a coach in the middle of a.
Oh, I definitely do not want to be putting a coach in.
Right, yeah.
And I don't want the city of Port Orange to be in the middle of somebody else's fight either.
Right, yeah, exactly.
What are the numbers that we're talking about here, Coach? What are you asking to waive?
Well, in years past, it's been $200 fence setup fee that we've offered to do for you. It's been a $100 concession fee that would take us an hour to make up anyways. In years past, that wasn't needing to be asked for. My numbers have gone up every year. The field setup rate has become outrageous. I mean, there's a number of things, and I'm really trying to bite my tongue, man. I'm a coach at heart, and it's not for me. I'm not here for me.
Yeah,
I
no,
never
we-
am.
Coach, we-
And
yeah,
the
we
fees,
get it.
I think, and I've even discussed with Sue, what we paid the first year Crossy was put in, we're paying more so, and the facility needs the help to get back to where it used to be. So I don't even feel like we're getting the product that we first initially paid for, and between conversations, they have taken the input and are looking to do hopefully some of those things that I'd mentioned, but nonetheless, it's not
Your
even
fall
my
event
money. that I'm
costs you
fighting for.
$970, and the spring event, you're looking at
Is-
$2,620.
Exactly. And
I get
that's
it.
$2,600 this year is quoted, yeah, I mean, there's two of them, and I'm paying roughly $400 more than last year.
I will let you go back and have the conversations that you need to have, and Coach will be here when you come back.
The worst part is that I missed out on coaching volunteer basketball team.
For what?
Basketball right over at the rec.
Oh, you mean for tonight?
For tonight.
Yeah.
And I did last night, and I have another one tomorrow, another one Thursday. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks. Item 20 is going to be continued to January 8th, which brings us to citizen participation on agenda. Do we have any, Robert?
No.
Okay. That brings us to council comments. Before we dig in too deep, I think all of us up here had a real dagger stuck in our heart a few weeks ago. The news of the passing of our finance director, Tracy Ream. And she wasn't just a stellar city employee. She was a stellar person. We can talk about her work and how good it was, but that was small in comparison to the person that she was. I want to read the obituary into the record. Tracy Scott Ream, born April 29, 1963, passed away on November 16, 2018. Tracy Scott Ream passed away on that date. She was born in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania on April 29, 1963. She was the daughter of the late Charles Raymond Strott and her mother, Beverly Lewis Strott. Tracy attended Christ Church and was an active member of an adult Bible study. Tracy was a dedicated mother, daughter, and friend. Her love for Christopher, her son, was apparent to all who knew her. They enjoyed a life filled with adventure and an infectious sense of humor. Tracy treasured each and every moment with her son and her mother, Beverly. Tracy's dedication to the Lord Jesus was unwavering. She was continually seeking His will. Tracy received her Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration at Ohio State University, her MBA at Indiana University, and MACC at Stetson University. She worked as finance director for the city of Port Orange. She was also treasurer for the local Rotary Club and a member of the Tiger Bay Club. Tracy was a board member and treasurer and financial advisor for the Pregnancy Crisis Center. This was a cause near and dear to her and Beverly's heart. Celebration of Life service will be held at 4 p.m. Saturday, December 15th at Christ Church, 2421 Tomoka Farms Road. In lieu of flowers, please send donations to the Pregnancy Crisis Center in her name, 416 North Ridgewood Avenue in Daytona Beach, 32114. Apologize. Gentlemen, your thoughts, please. Scott.
I think we could sit here all night long and talk about what Tracy meant to this council and this city and not get everything that needs to be said. Just from probably my selfish personal perspectives, I will tell you that to me, Tracy meant a great deal. And I don't mean any disrespect to any department or any department head in this entire city, but the finance process for a municipality is incredibly complicated. There's a lot of moving parts. I think there's only 2 departments in the city that actually plays a role in every other single department in the city, and I think that's finance and HR. I could be wrong, but certainly finance does that. And it wasn't all that long ago that Port Orange was under a spotlight that we didn't need to be under, or definitely certainly didn't want. And Tracy brought an incredible amount of calmness to that, but more so the incredible ability to sit down with a council member who really doesn't have the knowledge or the skill set about what it takes and what's going on in the finances to operate municipal government. Where does all the money come from? Where does it go? How does it work? What are all the strings attached? And to this day, I'm glad I don't have to take a test on any of that, but I will tell you that frequently I would pull Tracy aside or call her or meet her, and never one time did she ever feel like or gave the appearance to me that I was bothering her, that that I should have already picked up on certain things. I mean, just the patience that she had was incredible. And I will say this too, that there would never be question and should never be question about what it meant to her to serve the city of Port Orange. I mean, it was deep, really, really deep. And, you know, I thanked Tracy frequently, but I gotta tell you, not one single time did she ever say, "You're welcome," without making sure that I knew it wasn't all her. And she gave all of that back to her staff and the folks in the finance department. And every single time she said, "Well, I appreciate that, and I will pass that on to the staff that does all that work." And I think that speaks volumes about the kind of person that Tracy was. You know, I know sometimes it's cliche when something like this happens to say that one's going to be hard to replace. She really is going to be hard to replace as a friend, as a staff member, as a valued member of the greater East Volusia County. A lot of people don't know what all Tracy was involved with behind the scenes, and because she's kind of a silent partner in a lot of things, but like you read and what a lot of us know about her incredible passion to serve. I mean, incredible passion to serve and be involved for all the right reasons. And character, man, talk about somebody that just exemplifies character. Incredible. Just the kind of person that Tracy was, and it was devastating to get the call from the mayor about this, and for days, and still now in my mind, it just seems very surreal. But you know, I know that Tracy's staff that she has left behind, it will rise to the challenge. I know they already have. I know I appreciate Jake's and in human resources service and handling to all of the staff and the employees, especially in the finance department. They've lost a colleague and a leader, but also a friend, and somebody that I believe they had tremendous confidence in. But we as a city are in a tremendously better position today because of Tracy Ream. There is absolutely no question about that. So,
Drew?
Yeah, I'd agree with everything that's been said. She had the ability when, you know, I would ask a question to dumb it down, if you will, and you know, if I had something, she'd be able to explain it thoroughly where I'd have a better understanding or a better grasp. And remember one conversation she referred to we were talking about the funds, and she referred to them as buckets. You know, you got this bucket and this bucket and this bucket, and you know, we went off that conversation and kind of you know, to give me basically to simplify it so it'd be easier for me to get. Yeah, she not only served Port Orange but her community. You know, a long list of things that she did and volunteered for and everything, and that it's just you know, it's a shot for the entire community that she's not here anymore to continue to serve. So yeah, it was shocking to get the call and be notified, and I was like, what? We just seen her Tuesday before. And I'm like, what? It just, you know, I was in shock, and you know, I'm sure it set the staff in shock, and you know, throughout the city. But you're right. She did always mention her staff, her team, if you will, and you know, it was good that she never forgot about them. So really, is all I can add is that you know, it's just going to be a huge loss.
Chase?
Yeah, I had spent more time with Tracy than any department director, because I'm a storyteller by trade. That's what I do for a living. I tell stories. Numbers are a different language for me, but she made them come alive. The amount of time that I'd spent with her and how passionate she was about talking about numbers always flabbergasted me. She made it fun. But we also talked a lot just about personal lives. I had the distinct pleasure of teaching her son, Chris, at school on 2 occasions, different subjects. And he'll go down as one of my all-time favorites. Tracy was passionate about several things. She was passionate about her work, no question. She loved what she did. She was passionate about her family, particularly her son, Chris. And the many conversations we've had, she was passionate about her faith. She was very close with the Lord, which gives me a lot of peace, knowing that she is enjoyably walking the streets of gold today. She has the opportunity to hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant," of which she personifies that description perfectly. She was good inside and out, as anybody could be good. She was faithful to her community here. She was faithful to her family and to her friends, and she did it all with a servant's heart. So I can't speak enough about Tracy Ream. My heart breaks, but my heart also rejoices that she is where she was destined to be.
Bob?
She was a good neighbor, a good friend, and I knew her well. But I think what we're trying to say is when Port Orange needed help, she was there. And a lot of what we are right now is due to her. She was a woman of the moment, and we're all going to miss her.
Jake, would you care to add anything?
No, sir.
That happened on Friday night, and Jake called me, and my first reaction is, do me a favor and call me back 5 minutes later and tell me this was a sick joke. And of course, reality set in, and it was that shocking to me at the moment. I think one of the great legacies as she leaves is I visited in finance that Monday afternoon. I was very proud of the job that Jake did with HR to reach out to everybody and prepare them, get them the news, and make sure that there was somebody there for them. When I went through that department, everybody was at their desk, at their station, working. All of them bothered. All of them wearing their emotions on their sleeve. All of them a great legacy to her, being true professionals that day. And I was talked to each and every one of them, some of them at length, some of them briefly. All of them had a different take on the same thing, that they're going to miss their leader and they're going to miss their friend. Other business, other council comments? Chase, you got anything tonight?
No, that was the only thing I was going to speak to, so I appreciated you starting it off that way, Mayor.
Bob, you got anything else? No. Scott?
Just a quick observation. And also a special thanks to all the finance department and that staff for having to come back to work that very next work day and doing their jobs, getting back to work. That takes a special commitment and dedication that we shouldn't overlook. And I know we're going to be having an opportunity here soon to have a luncheon with a lot of our city staff, and that'll be a nice opportunity to thank all of our city employees and staff members. But Drew and I came in Monday morning, and Jake was going to be meeting with the most directly affected staff members, and so we just kind of hung out by the customer service door, and as residents were coming in, we were kind of telling them it's going to be a little while before we get open for business. We've had something unfortunate happen and all that, and I just want to tell you, it was amazing. We didn't have, and I get that people are busy in their lives. They got stuff to do. When you show up at City Hall, you expect whatever that thing is to get taken care of, it just gets taken care of. We did not have, and the other thing was, we were kind of amazed how many people on a Monday morning, man, at 8 o'clock, boom, they're walking in, or 9 o'clock, they're just coming in, and man, the amount of residents and citizens that show up to get business done here is really, you got to see it. But not one single person had any kind of show of emotion that was negative or disappointment or anything. They were just absolutely not a problem. We'll be back. We'll be glad to come back. that just speaks volumes of the community that we live in, and I didn't want that to go without notice as well. And I also just wanted to say thank you to all of the city departments and staff that participated in the events over the weekend. You know, that parade is just something just continues to grow and grow and grow. And when you ride in it, as we all get the honor to do so, as you're passing through and you see there's fire personnel over there, medics are staged over there, police officers directing traffic, our VIPs are handling intersections, your Parks and Rec staff, your Public Works. I mean, it just, everything that it takes to pull off an event like that and to do it so seamless is absolutely amazing. It's amazing. And I know they had practice, but they only get to practice once a year. And nonetheless, so I really want a heartfelt thanks to what they do, and the feedback that I get anytime we do something like that from our residents is just so positive, and it's so uplifting, and we'll never be able to share the gratitude and convey that enough to our city staff and our employees, but I do wish and hope that they understand and they get it, and that they know that gratitude is there and it's deserved.
Drew?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. We had two pretty big events, Saturday and Sunday, tree lighting or complex lighting, we'll call it, and the parade the next day. And Parks and Rec did a great job as usual. You know, we kind of seem to set the bar higher, and they're always meeting or exceeding it. So to everybody involved, calling out Parks and Rec because Susan's here, but every department, you know, it really does take pretty much every department to do the majority of these events and to get things done, and they did it well. And you know, the tree lighting, complex lighting was great. There were a lot of people there. The weather cooperated, and it turned out to be a great event. The parade, you know, from my perspective, seemed to go off without a hitch. I know there were probably little things going on here and there or whatever, but you know, there was nothing that really threw anybody or you know, really was difficult, and it all went well. And it's just you know, accolades go to everybody involved, because it takes the entire staff and everything to do it. And we, you know, typically recognize department heads, but I just want to recognize everybody, because it was a huge undertaking and it really went off well, and it just you know, they never ceased to amaze me. So well done.
The only other thing I have, unfortunately it's not small, we had a water main break that was going to cause a road closure for a considerable amount of time, because it goes beyond just the obvious fixing of a pipe, talking about a road and a bridge and all that goes along with it. And Jake, if you could just do me a favor, update us on that, the status of that, and where we are with these.
Yes, sir. There's a 12-inch water main that broke underneath or beside the road on Taylor. The crews at the water plant noticed a drop in pressure. They started looking for the leak. Couldn't find it because, well, it was under the road. And eventually they started driving around and saw some excessive water traveling down, I think, the B-19 canal there on the other side of Taylor, and said that's a little bit too much water for this time of day, and realized that it was the actual water leak, and it washed out a lot of the ground underneath Taylor Road there. So they secured the 12-inch, made sure that everybody, save the church that wasn't needing it, I think right away, had water, and then secured secured Taylor Road. They took a look at it after sunlight and realized it was a pretty bad deal. That's a county road, so we coordinated with the county. Apparently my time's up. And realized that it's going to take some engineering. So we're looking at, what is that? Is that something up here?
Somebody's playing Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
My
So,
keeper's not quite as nice.
so got it. So we're looking at the engineering now. We got a few bids from the contractors that are capable of doing it. We'll do a emergency emergency purchase and get going probably tomorrow or the next day. It's going to take 2 to 3 weeks to backfill all that stuff, engineer it, make sure we've done it right, replace the 12-inch, and move on from there. Chief Grimaldi and Dr. Sparger have been chatting, and we're moving the traffic as best we can during school hours, and everybody's got access to their homes except for Bobby Ball, and who cares about Bobby Ball? So
he's got access now. It's on the water, but
right.
he can get there.
He
can get there.
So we'll give him a boat, but no, everybody's got access to their home. Everybody's got access to water, and as we do the repairs, as I understand it, we'll make sure the right people have water or set something in motion ahead of time to prepare them for that.
My compliments, Jake, and to Chief Grimaldi and the police force. I mean, traffic amazingly has been moving pretty smoothly with that incredible road taken out where 90% of the school traffic comes to. I'm amazed. So well done with that.
So,
just a quick comment on that.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, one citizen commented to me that they almost felt because everybody's having to basically go one way now. There's one choice. There's not that they felt like it almost is moving smoothly. Yeah, it's a lot. There's still a great amount of congestion and all that kind of stuff, but you did kind of take one element out of that, so it'll be interesting to kind of assess that a little further down the road.
Although I was planning to go to Moe's for lunch today, but
that got messed
can't
up.
get there in time.
The road wasn't there for me.
So, one of the questions I got from you, Mayor, and from a few folks, a few citizens, is this seems to be happening more and more lately. And do we have a problem? I've talked to Lynn Stevens about it. You know, with some of the colder temperatures, there's a little bit shifting of earth. We noticed that the pipe, or the last 2 pipes that have broken, have been PVC. That PVC was the norm for engineering back in the 70s. She's shared with me a map of all the I think 12-inch PVC water mains. We do have some concerns with some of them, and we'll make sure that those get addressed as rapidly as we can after we fix what's broken. We want to get as proactive as possible. Which leads me, Mayor, if you don't mind me taking about 2 more minutes.
No, we talked about this.
One of the questions that I think will get asked is, how can this happen? And so I talked to Lynn about what assessments we're doing and how we can get proactive in this. If you recall, when I got here, one of the things that I wanted to make sure is we knew what we have and what we don't have, and who's got the, you know, a lot of people had knowledge in their brains, but not a lot of people put it down on paper. So we've done a concentrated effort, and Lynn's done a great job with Ronnie and Rick Wilson in Public Works and Public Utilities. And so I want to just update everybody on what assessments have been done, what assessments are underway, and where we stand. Completed assessments. Utilities master plan was completed in 2005, the last one. We have about 70% of those projects completed. Some of the items were either too big or stopped due to the economic downturn, and you can see us picking some of those up now, but we're about 70% complete. We had discussed a utilities master plan rework maybe a couple months after I got here. Yeah. But if you recall, that was 2 phases, $500,000 a piece, and that was just a little bit more than we were willing to bite off at the time. So we haven't executed that yet. A diver assessment of potable water in the main river crossing in 2015 is complete. If you recall, we did an I&I study in 2015, and we're going through the I&I rework right now, including the replacement of lift stations. I think we're doing 2 a year, Lane? Lift stations, 5 a year, thank you. And we're doing those in-house, by the way.
I was going to say 2 a year would take 60 years. So.
We're doing those in-house, and so there's a cost avoidance there. Public Works, we've done the streets and roads in 2017, and we're doing the Sleepy Hollow, we've done the Sleepy Hollow drainage. That's a $12 million worth of recommended projects that we're starting to work through. Assessment's currently underway. Water reclamation plant condition assessment. That's required for a permit. And the sewer line river crossing, we're taking a look at that. We're also doing a sidewalk assessment, and that's mainly to comply with our ADA transition so we can continue to get our LAP money. Street sign assessment is in work. A stormwater master plan phase 1, which is expected to be complete in March of 19. And with that is also a rate assessment that we're going to look at in February of 19. Needed assessments, the water treatment plant, water line replacement, wastewater collection system and lift stations at the new plant and a new plant location, reclaimed water storage and distribution, raw water main condition assessment. It's a 35-year-old single pipe, so we're going to take a good look at that, and the utility rate assessment. And in Public Works, the Stormwater Master Plan Phase 2, building condition. We've been reactive on fixing our buildings, and as we can see, some of those are in dire straits, Lakeside Air Conditioning being one of them, and solid waste fee assessment as the cycle of solid waste and recycling ebbs and flows. We're going to have to take a look at that. So that's where we are, sir, and as always, Lynn's on top of it, ahead of it, and doing a good job at plugging the holes in the dam and making sure they don't increase.
Well, that's the job.
That's it.
She has all that to worry about, and putting up a beautiful Christmas tree.
Right. Right.
Okay, and I'm sure that as we go, you have needs, you have things of us, there are things that we need to take action on, there are things that you want us to workshop and discuss. This council will be here and ready for that.
You bet. Thank you, sir.
Any other items before we move on? That brings us to item 22, report from Kemper Sports of the Cypress Head Golf Course.
Good evening, Bob Duquette, General Manager of Cypress Head Golf Course, Mr. City Manager, members of the council, and Mr. Mayor. This is a report actually for the month of October, which is our first month for the fiscal year 2018-2019. I'll give you a fairly brief report altogether. Our revenues for October were finished higher than our projected budgets. Our total payroll for the month was lower than the budgeted amount for a total of $11,552. And our operating expenses also finished lower than our budgeted amount. And since October is the first month of our fiscal year, then the year-to-date numbers right now are currently the same. Our entire team continues to work with Flag Sticks Restaurant as we continue to build a nice relationship with Kevin Hanna, who's the operator-owner. And our sales director, Reggie Hunter, has been working with Kevin quite a bit to promote all the facility for his guests and our guests by email blasts and promotional advertising. And I'm happy to say that with the increase of the nicer weather, his process has been going a little bit better. It was a little sluggish during the course of the summer due to the extra rain. T-sheet activity in terms of rounds, we had 3,405 rounds. Basically broke it down to 2,603 18-hole rounds and 739 hole rounds. Our golf shop continues to receive merchandise. We're getting prepped up for the Christmas holidays. And over the month of October, we had $400 in gift cards and $5,000 in pro shop sales. Our staff are also offering a lot of lesson packages for beginners as well as advanced. And with November coming on and daylight savings ending, we're offering classes now that are held under the lights on Monday nights. Hopefully they'll help promote some additional revenues, get some more people accustomed to seeing the golf course itself at that point. So we're going to be also operating our range lights on Friday and Saturday nights, so welcome everyone. Margaret, welcome everyone to come over on Friday nights and take advantage of our range.
Does this lights go away at night?
It does. You never see it once it goes past that 200 yards.
You can dim the lights down.
I'm in.
Reggie Hunter, who's our director of sales. She's been working booking tournaments. We've had quite a few events over the course of this season. We're expecting a lot more as we progress into 2019. In fact, she's got pretty much almost every weekend booked between March and next November, which is great. We've had some high-profile events. So we've had the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber, and of course we had the 2018 FHSAA Class 3A Region 2 Junior Golf Tournament. And what that means basically is there's 13 teams that came from around the area and competed for places in the state finals. So it was really great to see different teams, different places, Oviedo, Winter Park, other locations that came over, and were really impressed with the conditioning over at Cypress Head.
Bob, to do more tournaments with those high schools, is Creek the one bringing them, or do we have the ability to advertise for that, and can you charge for those?
Bottom line, it's usually like Mark Gross, who is the coach for Spruce Creek. He kind of petitions for whoever the directors are to say, hey, we'd like to have it at our place. They like to move it around. They don't want the same course every year, so that students get a chance to see different places. But Mark has been a tremendous asset. I know he's retired, but you could never guess it by the amount of time he spends working with all the kids.
Yeah, Coach
he's
is a real
tremendous.
deal.
But yeah, he works really hard at trying to get us involved with all any type of regional events. In our mind share for comments, we had 400 questionnaires mailed out. Our ratings for the golf course was 9.1. Our recommended rating was 8.5, and our service is at 9.6, which I find to be just awesome. Our team works really hard at being able to be customer oriented, and we take care of any guest complaints as quickly as possible. So we remain dedicated to serving the needs of Port Orange. We're starting new men's and ladies. We're doing lights clinics again under the lights. And one of the big things is we are a drop-off for Volusia County for a Choice for Tots. And last year we were commended for the fact that we were the largest location that they picked up from. So our citizens, our residents, our golfers have been really helpful bringing in toys for kids that unfortunately don't have them. That's all I have. Oh, we have a lot of Christmas sales, so come out and spend some money.
I saw a lot of new merchandise in there.
We got some great stuff.
Club fitting, come on.
Let's do it.
Go get your new clubs.
All right. Comments, questions, council? Keep making money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Brings us to item 23, which is the first reading of ordinance number 2018-27, shopping carts. This was continued from October 16th and November 17th, and since also revised. Ordinance number 2018-27 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, to establish a new Article 14, adopting shopping cart regulations related to signage and on-site retention measures, providing procedures for shopping carts found on public property, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2018-27.
Second.
We have a motion, a second on the floor. Jake, you want to have somebody review how we've updated this?
Yes, sir. I thought Matt was going to swing by. Is he?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, here we go. So a couple weeks ago, we chatted with maybe discussing removing one of the sections that would otherwise force compliant people to do something that would cost them money, even though they're in compliance now. I believe BJ's and Lowe's brought it up last time we talked. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we took the mandatories out of there and gave them like a 3-strike. Chief, do you remember if it's 3 or 5? I forget, but there's a few opportunities for them in a year to have a hiccup and not be forced to comply with the $50,000 wheel brake or electronic tracking devices. So it gives them a little bit of opportunity. There are a few there are a few big box stores that do a great job at corralling their shopping carts, and most of them try, but some of them are better than others. And it should be noted also that one or two big box stores are just because of where the bus stops are and where those stores are located, those are the folks that end up chasing carts all day long because their carts are out there. So if they can recover them quick enough and not dilly-dally and let their carts sit out there and get fined for it, then they won't be held accountable to the big ticket fee for figuring out another way to maintain them. So that's how we change the ordinance. It gives a little more latitude for those that are compliant, and it's, I would say, quite gracious, but it also meets the city's needs. Keep in mind that one of the first things that the city's going to do is call the store and let them know that there's a cart that needs to be picked up. And they have time to pick up that cart. So if they're serious about keeping Port Orange clean, they'll go pick up the cart, and that's it. So so we think that this ordinance will do a good job at getting people to go out and get their carts before the 24-hour period's up, before we have to go get it, before we have to fine them, before we have to institute the electronic or the brake or some other big cost to the store to maintain their shopping carts on their property.
So before they get dinged, we're giving them 24 hours.
They already had that. That was in there to begin with.
Right.
But also what was in there is you have to have the brake or the electronic or the bollards or something to prevent people from taking them off. We're saying if you're already compliant and going to get your carts right away and paying attention to that stuff, that we're not going to make you do all that until you strike out with the city. So, and that's X amount of times in a year.
Questions, council? Comments, council?
I'll just say that after we tabled this to bring it back tonight, the very next day, from I-95 to Village Trail, I counted 11 carts, just in various places, you know, either out on the sidewalk, abandoned in the right-of-way, laying over in the bushes, but well off properties of the stores that they come from. This is a starting point, but these little things matter. Are these big deals? No. They're little things, and all those little things add up to the look that we want for this city and the quality of life. And we cannot have just a mindset that allows people to take stuff off properties and just abandon it all over the city. It's just
broken window mindset.
Yeah, it's broken. It's a bad image. It's bad policy, and it's so I appreciate the business owners working with us and giving us feedback and constructive, and I can continue to encourage that tremendously. I will say that 2 weeks ago or whatever, we were out at some of the new shops out there by the Tanger outlets, and 2 of the stores had the devices on the wheels,
right,
and right on the carts it tells you when you go past a certain point, the front left wheel will lock up or something to that effect or whatever. But so obviously it's a problem that it's being thought of all over, and not just in Port Orange, but it's something. Those little things matter.
Those carts have a cost when they lose them.
Well, that and you know, and some of the feedback that I've gotten from residents are, you know, aren't there more important things? Oh yeah, absolutely, but these are important too. All the little things add up to be big issues, and so this is about maintaining our city and maintaining the quality of life, and these things need to be addressed, and this is a good starting point, and again I think it's a good thing to have good relations with our business partners and get the feedback from them, so I can appreciate that.
Council, any other questions or comments before we go to the public? Public comments?
Afternoon, Mayor. Thank you, guys. Mark Dickinson on Herbert Street. I don't know why I still voice my opinion on this, but hopefully I don't know if one of those lines in there that was taken out can add something in there for violators that actually do this, because, excuse me, I don't know if there's a penalty for the violator doing it or not, but I would just recommend doing that, because one, you'll get your businesses on your side, because you're trying to fix a problem that would can hopefully be stopped as soon as those people that are pushing those carts around say, man, city's fining us $15 for it, $20 for it. We're not going to keep these carts out of here. But through experience, I know if I saw a shopping cart off the property, I'm not going to stop, because that turns into a whole giant report that you have to do, because it's a misdemeanor violation to take them off there as is. So I know, Mayor, both of you and I have both spoke to about the same people about this, and I think I'm glad it's moving forward towards it to help these businesses not have to spend 50 grand, because when code enforcement comes after your business like they did with mine, it's not fun. So simple as that. Hopefully, like I said, if you can add a line in there, just says something about a violator that does that, that's less than a misdemeanor crime, but like a $15 parking ticket, start off with a warning. I don't know if you can.
You're talking about the people that take them?
Yeah, that take them, because obviously you'll see
it's
someone.
It's a larceny.
Yeah, but the larceny is a misdemeanor, causes a whole report. You're not going to, the officer's not going to do it, but.
Good.
But yeah, $15 fine or something.
Yeah.
They can write it in. But thank you, guys.
Let them make a criminal case, make the arrest, Mark. I mean,
they would. So
yeah, I get what you're saying, but it doesn't take that much time.
Okay.
And if the business owners choose to prosecute, we will do our job there too.
Yeah, just saying, for writing into the ordinance, instead of just all one-sided to the businesses, mix it up there with the people that are violating you as well. So thank you.
Who else?
It's not arguing.
Adam Miller, store manager at Lowe's. I just wanted to take a minute and just say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being considerate to our concerns and taking steps. Huge responsibility you have, meeting all demands and all requirements. And you took the time to listen, took the time to rewrite, and to make it as fair as possible. I, for one, greatly appreciated that. Thank you.
Appreciate you had a lot to do with that, so I have you to thank as well.
And can you state your name? I didn't.
Yes, Adam Millis.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you're here because I want to talk to you. You need bigger carts at your store.
Matt Hughes, GM over at BJ's. I want to echo what he said. I appreciate you guys listening and going back and revising it. I mean, that's huge to us. I mean, initially, you guys, we talked about the $50,000. I did a little more research. It's about anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 every year for upkeep past the initial part. So that's pretty big. So looking at the revision, a couple questions on it. So it says you get the notification. You get 12 hours, but you guys said 24, but it's 12 listed in here.
It's 12. You're
right. 12, 10 times in 1 year. And how is that gonna go about? Like, we just call the store, talk to somebody, and you get 12 hours to take care of it. And what happens if a police officer finds it and it's after closing hours? So they call a store at 10 o'clock at night. I won't get the message till 7, 8 in the morning. Now I've got 3 hours to try to figure out somebody has a truck to go get it. Maybe there's a way we could extend that to 24, not asking for...
It's 12 hours from the time we make the call, and I think our call is going to come from code enforcement, and code enforcement pretty much works during the day. So,
So
it'll happen during the day.
The next morning when you get the call.
It'll be incumbent upon you to give us a phone number of somebody that'll go, yeah, okay, thanks, and hang up, versus, ooh,
yeah,
the timer just started, we got 12 hours, get out there.
Well, yeah, that just comes to training from each store.
Sure.
So that clears it up from that. So that was kind of my question there. And then even though it wasn't revised in the top, but we talk about the signage that has to have the store name and number. Is there a way we could revise that, just having the store name if we only have one store within the city? I mean, I'd have to redo all of my carts with BJ's Wholesale Club 361 instead of just BJ's Wholesale Club. I think the idea of that was to separate if there was 2 locations within the same city, so the one person wasn't getting the fine for the other, or vice versa. This way we could, just keep it as BJ's Wholesale Club. You guys know where that is, or Lowe's, there's one, right? If there's multiple units, maybe they'd have to go out and renumber their carts. But for single units within the city, we could just stick it to just the name. I'd appreciate it if we could look at that.
I'll talk to Matt and see about making that change in the second reading, to say if there's only one. So if we get another BJ's after we get over 100,000 people in the city.
Don't start that rumor now.
So, yeah, we'll see about
Mayor.
adding that to second and let you know.
As long as it's not done.
This may not be the ideal situation, but I don't know the quality of the labeling, whether it's, you know, a particular quality that they're looking for, but, you know, stickers paste on like that. And we don't have to then carve a unique situation
Right.
for, you know, the one stores. Now, there's probably a lot of one stores, but there will be two in some of these stores. Winn-Dixie, perhaps, Publix, perhaps.
Walmart's got
so
two already,
it's easier
right?
if we can keep things somewhat uniform. So if the stickers are going to be
I think-
unacceptable.
I appreciate that. I think I would rather go ahead and look at an exception for operators with only one store, simply because we're doing this to keep the city neat. When those stores sit out in the rain and those stickers can get smudged and the glue and the dark, I don't want your carts looking ugly, simply because we want our city looking neat. And I think that that's probably a reasonable request, if we can take a look at that for second reading.
Yeah.
Just,
I'd be happy to look into it.
okay, if council's amenable to that.
Yeah, sure. It's reasonable.
Okay.
All right, Mayor, City Manager, Council, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Take care.
Anyone else? Back to us. Questions, comments, concerns, council? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
No.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 4-1. Thank you. Second reading will be coming forward at some point, and we'll let you all know. Item 24 is first reading of ordinance number 2018-33, which is the third amendment to the Journey's End Plan Commercial Master Development Agreement. Ordinance number 2018-33 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, approving the third amendment to the Master Development Agreement for Journey's End, FKA, the Peacock Way Planned Commercial Development, PCD, and the Conceptual Development Plan, CDP, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2018-33.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Welcome.
Hello, good evening. Penelope Cruz, Planning. The applicant is requesting to modify the MDA for the Journey's End Planned Commercial Development. This PCD was established in 2001, and at that time, you can see in the blue here, the PCD only had 3 lots. The Master Development Agreement included signage regulations for the commercial subdivision, which provided for a commercial subdivision sign 15 feet tall with a square footage sign area of 48 square feet, 3 tenant panels. In 2008, 2 additional lots were added to the PCD, but at that time the Master Development Agreement was not updated to address signage for those new lots. So the applicant is requesting at this time to amend the PCD to provide signage panels for those 2 lots. Not asking to increase the maximum height. He wants to maintain that 15-foot maximum height of the sign, but increase the square footage by 12 square feet to go from 48 square feet max allowed to 60 for those 2 additional panels. So you can see this is what he's proposing here. So it's got a side to side of what's there now and what's proposed. The applicant's here if you have any questions.
This is the same height?
The current one, it's allowed. The Master Development Agreement allows for a 15-foot sign.
Okay.
I believe the current one's actually only 12.
Gotcha, okay.
But the regulations allow for 15 feet currently.
Okay.
What he's requesting to increase is the overall signage area from 48 square feet to 60 for 2 additional panels.
Just because otherwise we'd have to shrink everything and make it harder for people to see, like me, who don't wear glasses, except when they do. Comments, concerns, council?
No, I mean, it's reasonable, it's a reasonable request. I don't see a problem with it.
Scott, Bob, Chase, anything?
I'm good.
Just a quick comment, Mayor, for your observation-wise, the storage facility there looks pretty close to being done, and it looks really nice and really seems to be something that fit well into that area. I know we had one or two little issues there that I think got worked out, but talk about a business that fit in a great spot and looks really good. If you haven't seen it, you really ought to check it out. I don't know when that'll be opening up, but it looks like they're not too far away, so pretty good.
Sure, we'll see it soon. You guys have any questions or comments for the developer? There being none, anybody else like to speak to this? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. First reading complete. Brings us to item 25, ordinance number 2018-34, amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinance pertaining Code Enforcement Lien Reduction Program. Ordinance number 2018-34, an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending Section 2-226 of the Code Enforcement Ordinances related to Code Enforcement Lien Reduction Program, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. May I have a motion?
Move to approve ordinance number 2018-34.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Jake, what are we trying to accomplish with this?
We moved code enforcement from community development to the police department, and we're just cleaning up the code to say code enforcement manager, so no matter where that code enforcement person is, they can act in accordance with the ordinance. Right now it says community development director, and our code enforcement's not there anymore.
Seeing Tim Berman doesn't have enough to do. Questions or comments, council? There being none, would anybody else here like to speak to this? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Brings us to item 26, approval of change order number 3 to A.G. Piper remodeling project at Dorothy L. Huckel City Center Annex. The recommended motion is to approve change order number 3 with A.G. Piper for both time and money, authorizing the mayor and city manager to execute all associated documents. May I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
May I have a second? Can I have a second?
Ask your vice mayor.
Yeah.
Can I have a second so we can at least talk about it?
I'll put it on the, I'll second it.
Thank you.
I knew you'd do it.
That's a job, right?
New job.
Tell you.
Sir, while Susan reboots, A.G. Piper's requesting just short of $50,000 in 15 days. We ran into some issues with roof drains and the ceiling in the Sally Port. There was some water damage that we did not see until we started taking things apart. So we would like the additional time. They asked for 30 days, I believe, and we talked through it and looked at the scope of work and what had to be done, and we couldn't get below 48 grand, but we cut 15 days off the request. Susan can fill you in on the details, and I know Dana's here for comments as well.
Yeah, thanks Jake for filling in. Comes time and the computer just goes off. So we did attach a itemized of each item involved in the change order, but like Jake said, the lion's share was, a lot of it was the roof drains. Once we knocked down some walls, those interior drains that come from the roof, they realized were rusted out and probably leaking all this time. But Dana is here to answer any specific questions to the change order. He is the architect of record on the project.
Council? Questions about anything that's itemized there? Or the scope, costs, any items? Chase, you got anything?
Go ahead, Bob.
How many overruns have we had
This will be our third change order. The other two appeared before council on the consent. We felt it was best to bring this one to the council because it was our third change order, and put it on the regular agenda so the council is aware.
The first one was the issue with the
The
flooring.
first one was basically just time.
Right.
Was just an additional 30 days, and the second one had to do with some flooring. And when we combined public works and public utilities, we added some offices. So there's some changes to some developing those offices in the building for their operation to run. That was a lot of it also. There were some roof things. We found some leaks that we weren't aware of. Things like that were outlined in those change orders. But this one is again going to the drains, most of it. There's a lot of items in there, a lot of items. Door hardware for the new doors for the new offices makes up the lion's share of it. But as with any remodel, right, especially a building of this age, there's some things that the architect just did not know about until we started taking down walls, ripping out ceilings to see things we couldn't see before. So we have a really great team on this project. Frank Flagg's our inspector who works in our public works department. He is, I'm sure if you ask the contractor, a pain, right? Which is exactly what we want him to be.
Yeah.
He is on that job every single day making sure that we are getting every bit of what we need for this building, and not cutting any corners and making sure we're not being charged for things we're not getting. So it is a good team. We do have a very good contractor and we have a very good architect. So I am pleased with the progress. We're expected to move the last week of January, saying all things keep going the way they are. But it's really starting to move along now. The finishes are getting in. They're starting to see all the ceiling tiles are in. Flooring starting to begin. Tile in the bathrooms. So just a little stuff now. But this is the change order that came from once we ripped out all the ceiling parts.
For a penny and for a pound.
So in the original contract, wasn't there a certain amount that was set aside for unforeseens?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been through that.
Yes, sir, we
and
have.
we've been through 2 other change orders, and this.
One for money. The other one was just for time.
Right.
Yes, correct.
And so we've been through the unforeseen money. We've been
Mhm.
through another change order that included money, and we're now looking for another $50,000.
Correct.
This isn't, yeah,
This type of stuff does not make me fans of change orders.
Understood.
We go to great lengths
Mhm.
to look at these projects, especially this one, a lot, and try to hit this nail on the head one time, have some money in a contract for the unforeseens. Not excited.
Yeah, I took a look at this, and even with contingency dollars, there were definitely some larger unforeseens, but I agree that even though $48,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money when you're spending almost $2 million, but $48,000 is a lot of money when it comes to unforeseens.
And one of the big things in the first change order, or the second change order, the roof is concrete and then it has plywood, right? Most roofs, plywood is 3/4 inches or 1/2 inch. This plywood on this roof is 1 inch, which is not normal. It's not normally what you see. We have no as-built. We had no as-built on the project. So as they started trying to find concrete footers to see where concrete should have been poured, the person who built the building originally went above and beyond, and he poured concrete everywhere, which had to be jackhammered out. You know, there's just a lot of things that there's just.
It was a fortress.
We didn't have as-built. We didn't have the information in order for us to make good decisions on what we were going to uncover. And I know Dana can speak a lot more to it, but those are some of the things we were noting in our weekly reports. We were taking photos of the footers and showing you the concrete, and we were trying to make sure we were keeping everybody abreast as to what we were finding as we were going through. So,
having been there and watched what happened, it was the most unusual project I've ever seen. I am willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, given all the junk I saw that happened during it. It started falling apart immediately. And we spent, if you want to know how much we spent on that building, go back and take a look at all over the years. So the building was not the best constructed, or it was unusually constructed.
This has been its history. Any other questions, council?
I move that we go forward
And we have
Where's
a
the,
motion on
where's
the
the
floor.
money coming from?
There is money available in the project. So when we allocated money last time, there was some extra money in there that we allocated because we anticipated other changes.
Were you
And
able to
so
reduce
that
any
budget
other-
resolution will come through.
I'm sorry. Were you able to reduce any other costs any other ways? In other places to save, to add to this?
We've made some changes as we've gone along. We have made recommendations, and
And you've
on the
noted
change
those,
orders,
too.
you'll see some deductive change orders included in the change orders that we've brought before the council, which will show you some negatives, so it's gone both ways, yes.
Yeah, because I share Scott's frustration, and I've made no secrets of my distaste for change orders. However, Bob brings up a great point. This is a very unusual building. But I still, going through the allocated money that we had extra for it, I just, when you bid on something, that's what you're expecting to get. I'm held to my standard in my work. It's hard to bring changes.
I see where item 12 was actually a decrease of $4,700 some odd dollars.
Correct.
Related, looks like landscaping and things. But then when you go up to 13, then costs for supervision, equipment, overhead dumpsters, other costs associated with the time extension, which they're asking for to complete the thing, and then you got 10,500 there, which is an increase. So I get it. Stuff happens, but it's not making me happy to have to keep adding to this.
Just a little history on that item that you had, the supervision. Originally, you'll notice it says, change order. I think they have it as a 7R revised, because the first one they gave us, that number was $35,000, and we just told them that was unacceptable. So there's a lot we go through to say no. We say no a lot, and we say things are unacceptable a lot, and with the team gets together and we discuss what we think is reasonable to present to you, because I can tell you it's not comfortable for us to come here either and ask for additional money for this building. But I know it's our job to complete the building, and things do come up in construction projects, especially remodel construction projects.
I'm going to tell you I love you to death, but don't ever get comfortable coming.
I never will.
Can you tell me again where that excess funds would come from?
I don't have the account number. I guess I can find it on here.
Okay.
It's from the same project.
It's coming out of the same project, the AIO 032.
There's nothing being transferred in to do that.
That's what my question was.
Okay.
I will reluctantly support it, but my expectations of what I anticipate of seeing when this project is done are extremely high. So I hope every single aspect and I has been dotted and T crossed, because this is an iconic building for the city. It's something that needs to sustain tremendous amount more decades of use for and it's an incredibly valuable asset for the taxpayers and investors of the city. So this has been a long time coming. This was one of the things early in my first term on the council. We made a commitment to keep this as an asset for the city, because we knew we would need it with the growth and expansion, and I don't want to cut corners, but the expectations are very high. I hope that they have all been met. I know Jake and I spoke the other day, and he had said, hey, you want to see what it looks like, and I said, no, I want to see it when it's all done. I mean, having spent 2 decades of my life in that building, and I share with Bob. I agree what Bob's talking about. It's great to get promoted and get your own office. You can't even hang a picture on the wall because you can't drive a nail through any of them because they're so fortified. But I get it, and I appreciate the work that your team and staff puts into this as well.
What would be the contingency if it wasn't approved? What would you?
The construction would cease. We wouldn't be able to finish the project. Because you don't want us to put a ceiling in.
Or we finish half of it and finish the inside ourselves.
You wouldn't want us to put ceilings in if the roof drains are leaking. We would just be throwing good money after bad. So,
Susan?
Yes, sir.
Shouldn't that have been part of, or that was something that couldn't be discovered until the roof was?
That's correct.
And it wasn't anticipated in the bid of the roof to have a drain
problem? We didn't have as-built.
Okay.
The building was built a long time ago, and we did not have accurate as-built for the building.
Yeah, I know there were some issues. They had to use ramjack in a couple places because of
We had to reinforce, we had to bring in steel to reinforce the roof, and it's not a normal building. It was designed to take vehicle slamming into the building. It was an old jail, so it was designed unlike anything we've ever had before.
Okay.
The only way you could penetrate that building was through the roof, with all the leaks that it always had. Because it leaked
except for that 1-inch plywood.
And 1-inch plywood would last a lot longer than half-inch plywood before it rotted.
I would, I'll also reluctantly support. I just hope in the future, I'd rather err early on the side of extra funds, because I hate being in a position to, if I voted no, then I'd eat $2 million of work.
Understood.
So let me understand that you're of the position of asking for a higher contingency up front?
Only because I don't want to be surprised and be.
Yeah, 10% is what we.
No, we did 9% on this project because of the budget. We were really tight on our budget, so we didn't even do the.
Okay.
I think we're doing 15 now on remodels, 15%, because we just don't know sometimes.
Yeah. So.
That's what we're learning as we do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to spend the contingency, but
no doubt.
It's the shock value of right
that's the other problem, and I'm probably speaking without knowing, but what we've seen, if there's contingency there, it's easy to spend. If it's not there, and you got to come here, then you have some tough conversations, especially when she's running a contract. And as I said, it was a little more money and 15 more days that they had the tough conversation, where if it's contingency, it's, well, let's just take it out of contingency. It's a little bit easier. So I almost prefer it this way.
That's fine.
Is the signage just going to blow us away when we put Senator Huckel's name up there, or are we going to be blown away?
The signage?
Is it going to be spectacular?
The signage.
The signage will be standard that you see at City Center. It's going to be in conform with that.
Okay.
I don't know.
So no, it's not going to be.
I don't know. I can do that if you'd like.
I'm still looking for the word City Hall on City
Hall.
But
it would be change order 4.
She wasn't the type of lady that would like anything bright and shiny. Yeah, forget it. Wrong lady.
With that, anybody from the public like to speak to this? There being none, final comments, council? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 27 is Resolution 18-59, electing to use a uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments. Resolution 1859 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, electing to use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments levied within the incorporated area of the city, stating need for such levy, providing for the mailing of this resolution, providing for an effective date.
Move to approve resolution number 18-59.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, second. I didn't realize that was part of the.
By the way, did we tell you that you're the parliamentarian now, Mr. Vice Mayor?
I got you.
Okay.
Second.
All right. That is actually a second. The motion is on the floor for the resolution. Mr. Alan Rosen is before us without a PowerPoint.
3 slides.
4
if you include the title. I timed myself, I think I'm about 4 minutes. Evening, Mayor and Council, Alan Rosen, Assistant City Manager. As you well know now, I am here to talk to you about the resolution to inform the county and the state that we intend to use the uniform collection method for fire service fees this coming year. That's what the resolution you have is in front of you. To give a little background, we were here about a month ago just to let you know we were going to advertise as per state law for this public hearing. We've done that. And now we're back to approve the resolution. For a little more history, back in the 90s, Council actually did this and approved it and did not go forward in the end with the fire service fee. And that's kind of one of the things I want to bring up with you tonight, is that what does this resolution do and what does it not do? The only thing this resolution does is it preserves the right to use the tax bill for this collection method for this coming year. That's all it does. It does not bind the city to use the tax bill for this collection. It also does not bind the city to impose or collect anything for fire service fees this coming year. It just keeps this process in motion till you, the council, decide whether or not you want to do this going forward. A little bit more about the timeline. We have to, if we decide to move forward with preserving this method, we have to do so by December 31st, and we have to send it to the county and the state by January 10th. So why use an assessment? Going forward, we'll have much more discussions about this if this passes, but just to give you a little bit of primer, why use assessments? The difference between assessments and your ad valorem tax rate are quite a few. Your ad valorem tax rate is kind of your biggest number that you can kind of play with to determine how much money you bring in to provide services. Problem with an ad valorem tax rate is there are a lot of other variables that go into deciding how much money that actually brings in. You have one thing to control, and generally the economy and the state control a lot of other levers to determine how much money you bring in. With an assessment, it's really based on the rate you set. It's not based on the whims of the economy. So in that example, if you want to set a rate of X number of dollars, that's the money that you'll bring in. And if you decide you want more or less the year after, you can change that. And the economy is not going to change the number that you bring in. You have ultimate control over the amount that you bring in within state statute limits. As your financial advisor always tells you, revenue diversification is another reason that we're looking at this. The more eggs you can have in your basket, the better off you are from a financial standpoint, even if it's a zero-sum game. So if revenue somewhere goes down and you can keep the revenue over here the same, if you're not impacted by the economy over here, it helps you in the long run to be able to balance your budget over time. And this, of course, is something that's directly tied to, if we're talking about fire service fees, to the fire service. And also it's an annual decision. So again, as I said, if the council decides this year they want, one number, the next year they can decide a different number. You saw this before, but basically collection pros and cons for the different methods. Tax bill has the highest collection rate, and that's one of the reasons we're talking about it. The con, of course, is that there are strict deadlines to meet in terms of state statute, but we're already doing that, so it's not that big of a deal. On the other side, of course, you have the utility bill. You do have that option. The deadlines are much more loosely set by the local government, but of course your collection rate and collection methods are a lot lower and a lot harder to achieve. And then the implementation procedures, as you can see on the left with the tax bill, there's a lot more to do there. We're already in line to do those things. And of course on the utility bill on the left, on the right-hand side, there's a lot less stuff that hoops you have to jump through. But again, we'd be prepared to do that as well. So again, just to wrap up, tonight is really about, do you want to preserve this method of collection if you decide to move forward, or do you want to let it slip through our ability to do that this year? You do have other methods available to you, but if we don't move at this point, the availability of using the tax bill for collection method for this coming year is a lot harder to achieve. So I'll leave it to you for discussion and whether or not you'd like to move forward with this option at this time.
So this basically is nothing except keeping this option available to us by following these steps.
That is correct.
We haven't even discussed whether we want to do it or not, but we can't even have that discussion if the option's not available to us.
That is correct.
Okay. Questions, comments for Mr. Rosen?
No real quick. I was interested in this throughout the year, simply as a supplement to the possibility of Amendment 1 passing. That was my only interest in it. With that not passing, I understand the conversation to have. I understand why, but I kind of lost interest after Amendment 1, which, surprisingly, I can't believe it did. But state did a great job. Cities did a great job educating the voters on that.
So keep in mind that this the fire assessment, which this isn't the decision tonight, if you decide to go there eventually, it can be a tool to offset the ad valorem tax rate, like it would have. I think Councilman Ford mentioned early on that he would only support it as a zero-sum game. So that still exists out there. That's still an option to raise revenue with fire assessment and decrease the ad valorem revenue by the same amount, which again leads to this revenue diversification.
Which I'm not entirely,
Yeah.
actually I like assessments better
Yeah.
than I do.
Well, the
ad
one reason
valorem.
why
A
I
lot
think we
more-
should even have the workshop to discuss whether we want to do that, and we
Mm-hmm.
need this in place before we can have that workshop, is A, revenue diversity, multiple income streams, and the other is that we've got an unequal tax system. And
Well, yeah.
basically this, everybody pays it, you know, whatever it might be. I think whatever we decide would probably be something modest, instead of some people not paying anything and other people paying an extreme amount, and then others just being in the middle paying. I think we should at least keep the option open so that we have the conversation. If we don't want to move forward, we don't have to move forward, but I think we should have a full conversation about it first, and that's just my thought.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I again, the transparency of a fee is much more appealing to me.
Yeah,
I'm a fair tax kind of guy, and this is a lot more fair across the board, in my opinion.
I'm not fond of the property tax system because there are so many inequities as it is. But it's what we have.
I think it's worthy to keep every tool you've got in the box, and this just adds a tool to the box that we can later at least evaluate at the appropriate time. You know, when you can give us scenarios as to how things look, and maybe something we look at and go, not going to happen, and maybe something we look at and go, man, that's great. We should have done that years ago.
Yeah, why don't we do it
Yeah,
sooner?
you never know. And one of the things I think we have found out collectively as a group, this council, during budget seasons and going through that, is there are times when I wish we had more options and tools. So, yeah,
that.
that's all it is for me. It's a tool to keep in the box, and we'll see if it benefits and if it's a good value to the taxpayers later, if we need to use it. That's all.
Anyone in the audience like to speak to this?
I'd like to speak.
I get you. There being none, back to us.
Okay. I'd like to thank the citizens for their responsibility in their vote.
Hear, hear.
And I'm doing that by not surprising them this year with this.
Anything else? Call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
No.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
No.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. 3-2. And we can have a workshop and discuss its merits. And we can either do it or not.
Yeah, I mean, we're just reserving the option. Just reserving
Honestly,
an
I'm not
option.
fond of the idea because I was with Chase about Amendment 1, but we'll have the conversation. We'll,
Sure.
Do I get another opportunity to second something so I can,
I don't
catch up?
know. Maybe if you look at your agenda and see what Margaret has for us right now.
I do have one item for you tonight on the agenda under city attorney comments. You've also all received a memorandum that was transmitted from my staff, and that memorandum provides some supplemental information on the item I'm about to talk about. In 2017, the state legislature adopted the Wireless Act. I think you've seen a little bit of background on that previously through the city's ordinance work. The Wireless Act is an adoption that diminishes the city's rights to exercise home rule. That also impacts the citizens' rights to be governed by home rule. The League of Cities is challenging this state law through filing a lawsuit. They are an association of cities, and they are doing so as a city association or a group of cities. They represent all cities throughout the state. The consideration tonight is important because the law limits this city's ability to regulate the process. Your home rule power gives you regulatory power. You can provide for reasonable process and review of a permit through those regulatory powers. That enables you to look at the numerous locations where these structures can be built and how they will impact your citizens. The way the statute's been crafted, it restricts that ability. It severely hampers that ability and makes it next to impossible. So tonight I'm suggesting that in addition to the League and the City of Naples, that the City of Port Orange also join in this challenge of the statute. The city's financial impact as a result of an action in that regard would be limited. The impact to the community and the organization would be significant. So it's our recommendation tonight that you authorize the city attorney to join in the lawsuit, subject to the city manager and city attorney's approval of the final documents.
To my recollection, just to confirm my conversation with Matt, this is on your time here, so it's costing us money and resource as you're doing it on our time, but is there any out-of-pocket expense to this?
There could be some minor travel expense for Matt to get to particular hearings, depending on the course of the suit. There could be his time, of course, but that's paid today and tomorrow, regardless of whether you go forward with us.
That was my question.
The great majority of the expenses will be handled by the League of Cities.
They've got the lion's share of it with all
Correct.
its partners. Other questions?
No, makes sense.
We have a motion to
Move to accept her recommendation and follow suit, or file suit.
Second.
Yeah.
Alright.
Next
Thank
meeting,
you.
you'll actually be making the motion. How about that? Anybody else like to speak to
No,
this?
it's not here.
There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Thank you.
Burnett.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Yes,
counsel.
5-0.
My apologies.
Anything else, Margaret?
No, sir.
City manager, what items you got for us, Jake?
The only thing I have, sir, is that we'll be able to workshop the fire assessment option in spring.
Okay.
Perfect.
We're working with some folks, taking a look at the options and what it would, how much we could charge and what it would be for, what it can't be for.
Okay.
All that stuff. So we'll be ready in the spring.
Including what's reasonable?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
City committee, council committee reports, River to CTPO.
I was not in attendance due to work.
Okay.
I actually did attend. Do you want an update?
Please.
So at the TPO, there was a conversation about using SU money, which Councilman Stiltner asked me what it meant. I said,
Can I get a sheet of all the acronyms?
Hey, check the agenda item. I can't explain it, but it's money that they use for design of projects. But the conversation was held that there's a lot of projects that are designed that are in the TPO list right now that the TPO hasn't gotten to yet. So if we spent that money on design, it would just make the stack bigger, but still unfunded, if you will. And that Lois Ballenbeck, the executive director, recommended that they throw approximately $1 million at following or completing the study for Pioneer Trail interchange, and that the Pioneer interchange. That interchange, if we didn't do it, would kind of stall at the. I think it's at PD&E study is where they are. The PD&E study would stall until we came up with that money. Okay. So the agreement was to spend that $1 million, which is not in accordance with policy, but the board directed Lois to go ahead and use that money for the Pioneer interchange. The conversation was not lost on the folks, the elected officials from West Volusia who wanted the money for projects out there that they felt were important, and the conversation was basically that there's other money for that, and this money couldn't or was not within policy to use for that either, and the conversation steered to Pioneer Interchange when all was said and done. And that'll reflect in the minutes.
You know when the next TPO meeting is?
Next TPO meeting is in January. I have it.
Okay.
It's a Wednesday morning. I'll get that for you.
General Employees Pension Plan?
Nothing.
Fire Pension Board?
Everything's fine.
Police Pension Board?
Police Pension Board, the return for the year, we got the report ahead of the annual report that they'll file, but the return for the year was just shy of 9% net, so they had a very good year. The first, I guess, quarter of this year is a little bit hit or miss. There's been some ups and downs, but the last year was good. This year's starting off a little bit rocky, but the funding continues to go up slowly but surely over time, and it's trending in the right direction, and it hasn't had any downswings. It's only been going up, but it's been creeping up slowly, so it's going well.
Today notwithstanding, of course.
I was good, yeah. I like how you used ups and downs. We'll go with that. That's
Mayor, I believe if we can go back to the General Employees Pension Plan, I believe that we voted for a new member of the board for the pension plan. Miss Cindy Rivera got voted in. Linda Johnson resigned, and the general employees in the pension plan voted Cindy in.
Okay.
So, and Lori, I believe, will fill Tracy's shoes until Lori Bockelman, until we come up with a finance director.
Okay.
All right.
Mayor, if I can go back to the fire pension briefly. I happened to attend a portion of that meeting, and they authorized an actuarial report, and I'll make sure that's shared with you with all the background.
Okay. Anything else come before us?
Real quick, sorry, hate to be that guy.
You are that guy, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, the First Step Board, an interesting meeting last night. One good result came from it is Stuart Marchman is a benefactor of a federal grant, which only 5 to 10 of them are given out all across the country. In essence, allows them the opportunity to really partner with First Step and deal with the people that need those services. So that's critical for the success of First Step, because without that those mental assistance and those programs, it's flawed.
Definitely a reason why that's called First Step.
Oh yeah, and there was a lengthy discussion about safe zones, of which myself and Councilman Selby and Mayor Hall, we've all given significant attention to, because there was a statement made by Daytona City Manager that every city is responsible still to have their own safe zone. I don't believe that is in the law to have that. I'd ask Margaret to look into that, if you would please, because our understanding of participating in is we are protected, we are fully Pottinger compliant, is that we have an alternative to take them to other than jail, and that to our knowledge is what we are bound for. The pushback from Ormond and from Ponce and South Daytona and us naturally would be is, wait a second, if we're going to be financially contributing here, yet we're still liable to come up with something in our own city. That wasn't the initial deal.
Yeah, he can run his city, we'll run ours.
Well, exactly. So, and
well, First Step isn't.
First Step is not.
Won't be the cities, so.
Right.
Exactly.
So just a heads up on that. You know, I don't believe that we need our own safe zone if we have another place, and that's you know, that's to be continue to be hashed out throughout there. So it's kind of we had Daytona saying one thing, but our board is pretty adamant about not having that.
Keep your gloves on.
Oh, taking them off.
All right. Anything else come before us this evening? We'll see you all again in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.